Double check that the measurements from the side of the whole logs to the end of the half logs in the corners is 7 inches. Mark the whole logs 12 inches from the end. You will use these 12-inch marks to measure from corner to corner to check for square. The log walls will be square as your deck at this point. If you find that the deck and log walls are not square, correct it by shifting log walls as needed. Be sure to keep the door openings at exactly what the print shows them to be and to keep the joints tight. Once you are confident that you have the corners of the home where you want them, toenail them to the deck. Only toenail the corners at this point. After the corners are toenailed, then we can begin straightening the walls in between them. Drive a 16-penny nail halfway in next to the groove on each corner log. Run a string from corner to corner. Be sure to make the string tight. Line up the grooves of the logs along the log walls with the string, making the walls straight. Use 20-penny galvanized nails to nail the butt joints together. When nailing the butt joints together, you must make sure that the outside of the grooves line up. You must also make sure that the flats are the same height on each log. If one log is higher than the other, use the nails to drive the high log down even. Once the log walls are straight and even with the string, and the butt joints are nailed together, toenail the entire length of log wall to the deck just like you did with the corners. This will hold down the first row of logs in place until the rest of the logs are stacked and the through bolts are put in. Foam must be placed in the end notches at all the butt joints. It is best to wait until after a butt joint is nailed together before foaming it. Take a sheet of 1.5 inch foam and cut an 8 3/4 inch strip. The 8 3/4 inches is the height of the foam blocks, which will be the same for all the butt joints. The widths will vary. Place the 8 3/4 inch strip of foam over the butt joint to get the proper width and cut with an utility knife. Non-expandable foam spray can also be used, but be careful not to get the foam on the face of the logs. Now you are ready to mark the through-bolt holes and start drilling. The wall plans will have the through-bolt locations written on them. The measurements will all be from the outside of the log wall or from the edge of a doorway. You will be able to tell which. Mark the top of the log for each measurement, and then write down in large numbers on the deck the measurement of each hole. These measurements on the deck will help you remember where the holes are and to continue to mark and drill them as you go. Yep. Be 6 inches.
6 inches?
Yep. 2 feet. 2 foot 6 inches. Drilling the hole straight is very easy if you stand back where you can see if the drill bit is level. Check both sides for level. On this project I'm filming, the homeowners and their friends who do not have any prior experience did most of the drilling, and they did not have a single hole not line up. The key is to stand back where you can see the drill bit and not to hover over the drill. When you are done drilling a set of holes, clean off the wood chips with a hand broom and clean the holes out with a knife. Do not put the drill in reverse when pulling the bit out of the hole, as that will leave the chips inside. After the holes are drilled and the logs are cleaned off, you can put the foam tape on. The foam tape goes on both grooves. Be sure to put a saddle gasket on everywhere a log overlaps another log. Before bringing up the logs for the second row, it is helpful to build a box out of 2 10-foot 2x12s and 2 4-foot 2x6s. This box gives you something for the loader to set the logs on when it brings them up, and also elevates the logs enough that you can comfortably drill and tape them off of the box instead of drilling and taping off of ladders once the logs get stacked too high. Make a list for the second row and bring the logs up. Stack the logs just as the wall plan shows them. After a section of logs are stacked, then nail the butt joints, put in the foam, mark and drill the holes, clean the logs, and put the tape and saddle gaskets on, and you are ready for the next row of logs.